we'll call the Health and Human Service, no, the discuss budget, draft budget and draft certified levy. I don't think so.
Pledge of the
Formerly known as Truth and Taxation.
Okay. On the budget certification and levy meeting, I guess. I don't know what we'll call it. Let's call it the old Truth and Taxation meeting, okay? We'll call it to order. Bob, do you want to start us off, or Lee, or what?
Why don't we do the Pledge of Allegiance, and then maybe some introductions are in order, and then I'll do kind of a brief overview, if that works.
Well, let me get my phone in quiet before we do the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, and then should we do some introductions here first before we go?
I think that'd be good.
Okay, Commissioner Potter, do you want to start off? And
Thank you, Charlie. My name is Michael Potter. I represent District 4, which is Albertville, the west half of St. Michael, Hanover, Rockford, and Rockford Township.
Christine Hewsome, District 1 Commissioner, the cities of Buffalo, Annandale, South Haven, the townships of Buffalo, Chatham, Corinna, Albion, Southside. Did I miss one?
okay, and Charlie Brown, represent District 5, cities of Delano, Montrose, Waverly, Howard Lake, Cokato, townships of Franklin, Woodland, Marysville, Stockholm, Victor, Middleville, French Lake, what did I forget, Bob?
Woodland.
Cokato Township, yeah.
Woodland.
And Woodland, I think I might have.
Did you get Stockholm?
It's like the whole southern part of the county. All right. Commissioner Delyden has a really tough job here. So.
I'm Mark Delyden. I represent District 3, which is Eastern St. Michael and all of Otsego.
And he keeps forgetting
And a small part of Dayton. I keep forgetting about that. I should.
Slabtown, Dayton, which is in this county.
3 people in Dayton.
And I am Derek Betch. I represent District 2, which is Monticello Township, Maple Lake Township, Silver Creek Township, Clearwater, and Clearwater Township.
Okay.
Lee?
And Lee, you want to start?
Sure, yeah. Lee Kelly, the county coordinator. I noticed we do have some other staff in attendance this evening.
Deb too, or?
Deb Schreiner.
From the coordinator's office, okay. Administration office, okay.
Tony Rasmussen, I'm the Wright County Assessor.
Debbie White, Chief Deputy Auditor Treasurer.
Bob Beulah, the Auditor Treasurer.
Christine Carlo, Business Manager, Health Services.
Dave Zumbush, I have business in town and I reside in Chatham Township.
Okay, thank you. And whatever, we have a couple of assessors back there too, yeah.
I do some local assessing. Almo, Chatham, Howard Lake City, Haywood City, Clearwater City.
Okay, sounds good. Okay,
Lane Roshan, St. Michael, small business owner.
sounds good. Okay. Lee, go ahead.
Just a few opening comments, board, of course. As you know, this is board and public. This is a meeting that we're required to do every year. Per Minnesota statute, used to be known as the Truth and Taxation meeting. It has to be held after 6 p.m. somewhere between November 25th and December 28th. So we chose tonight as that meeting. As you know, this is the culmination, one of the last steps as part of our budget process. We begin in the springtime of the year discussing kind of strategies in our capital improvement plan for the year. July, we solicit budgets from the individual departments and then have a series of budget meetings with the departments to present their budget cases to the board every year. It takes place in August and sometimes into September. Mid-September, we adopt a preliminary levy required by statute prior to September 30th. The next step is where we're at here tonight, having the Truth and Taxation meeting. Following this, the board will adopt a final levy for the year for 2018 in December. Targeting right now the December 12th meeting to do that. So tonight, we're here to discuss the 2018 budget as it is proposed. I would say also that there are assessor staff here tonight if you have questions on your individual property values and the way things may have changed for one of the 14 reasons as listed in the handout, and you'd like more discussion on that. We're not so much here to talk about individual properties as we are with the total budget. So just to make that known. Just a few other comments. Wright County, as we all know, is one of the largest counties in the state, and additionally, we are growing, one of the fastest growing counties. I would say the 2018 budget reflects the needs that are coming along with the growth of that. That's manifested itself in the additional positions for the 2018 budget. We are looking at a new facility to be constructed in 2018 and additional debt service with that. Another change as of October of this year, we implemented the sales tax, so those road projects are included in the 2018 budget as both a revenue and an expenditure in the budget. So with that, very high level overview. I would again, if you have specific questions, feel free to come to the podium during the public comment period, and we can provide answers as best we can tonight. So with that, I'll turn it over to Bob Hevelar, our Auditor Treasurer, to kind of go over your tax statement.
Thank you, Lee. Commissioners, right out there on the table, Dave.
Yeah, I'll do this.
Grab one for me, too.
Dave, can you grab another one for Commissioner Burrell?
There. Lee will take it there. There you
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
I did not get one of these yet. So.
Are you trying to get it
you
in
did.
full-time, Dave?
It was in with your rest of your packet.
Are you trying to get on full-time by doing,
That's the left
you know?
From this morning?
It was there, it was there.
So Commissioners, like Lee said, tonight is about our proposed budget, but a lot of concerns are regarding individual property taxes. So I just want to take a chance to go over the specifics of the property tax statements themselves. So you're going to see on page 4, there's a lot of work that's gone into by the assessor's office. They've gone out there and appraised your values last year. They've classified your property, and the combination of the value and the classification affects what's called the capacity of your property. We add up all the capacity of all the properties, and that's one of our numbers. We solicit the levies from all the taxing districts. Tonight is all about the county. So we took the county's levy divided by the total tax capacity of all the properties to come up with our property tax rate. We're all paying the same property tax rate. It's just our taxes are dependent on the value of our property and the classification of our property. So if you look at your property tax statement, you're going to see it's the one that says, it's page 5. It says proposed taxes. This is Spruce County, Page County. But in box step 1, you're going to see the value last year and this year. And you're going to see the class rate, the class. This was residential non-homestead to residential homestead. So there's a change in that class. Those change in classes and the change in values are a big derivative of what you're going to pay in property tax. So if you see if you change there, that's a reason why your taxes are going to change from one year to the next. So, Commissioners and the public, I just want to let everybody know that the culmination of those dividing our levy by our capacity, our implied tax rate went up from 39.921, or went up from 39.599 to 39.921. So, in a nutshell, if you had a $100,000 residential homestead, you're going to pay about $6 more in property taxes because of that change in tax rate. And then you can multiply it up as you have more value. On page 6 of the handout, Page 5.
6.
Page 6 is the back of our slip.
Right. I think,
Or back of this proposal.
Lee, when we got your signature, I think I inserted another page, so I apologize. So
our levy did increase by $13 million. The overall tax capacity rose by approximately the same. That's why our tax rate changed by 0.322%. On page, these are off now. On page 7 is basically our proposed budget. So you see that even though our overall levy, our operating budget went up, we're still collecting about 50% of our revenue coming from property tax. That's the same as it was last year. So the other increases in our levies came from other sources. Like Lee had indicated, that local option sales tax, we had certain charges for services like boarding of prisoners. We recognize that increase in revenues. At the bottom graph, you're going to see that we're predominantly personnel driven. A lot of the value in the county is based on the staff that we have to provide the services. So 52% of our budget is spent on personnel. On page 8 is basically just another way of looking at our expenditures by function. Now, function means it's general government, it's public safety, it's health and human services, health and recreation. So you'll see, I just want to draw your attention to that streets and highway. You're going to see a significant increase proportionally by the scale of the graph. It doesn't seem that big, but that's where our local option sales tax is. So we budgeted the expenditures, but we're also budgeting the revenues to equal those projects. On page 9 is, again, where we're seeing the changes in the classification of our expenses. And again, personnel is probably our biggest change. That reflects the additional new bodies that we have. We recognize that we are behind in harnessing technology, so we have a heavy investment in providing staff for technology. This also accommodates the COLA. The repairs and maintenance, that purple bar there, that's again where that local option sales tax expenses are. Page 10, this is where our revenues are coming in from. So again, by scale, property tax accommodates for the bulk of our revenues to offset our operating levy. But I'll draw your attention to, and it's very small, but other taxes, that purple bar there, that's the recognition of our local option sales tax. The other bar under charges for services, that purple bar went up. Again, we're looking to recognize the boarding of prisoners from other counties. There are expenses tied to it, but there's also the revenue that we're taking in from it.
So Bob, you're anticipating, and I know it's just an estimate at this time, about $5 million
for
the local option sales tax?
I believe that is correct. I think it's $3 million, Commissioners.
3.9, wasn't it?
$3.9 million.
Oh, it's
3.5, yeah.
It just looked like it was halfway up the
Right.
thing there.
Under that, other taxes is gravel tax and stuff like that.
Oh, I see.
So Board, on page 11, this is something that you had asked us to do a couple years ago. We're continuing with it. We're giving examples of real-life properties.
Just for the real-life Wright County properties.
Right. Your stratified sample is these commissioners up here. So we have their residential properties, their commercial properties. So if everything perfectly stayed the same in the first category, there's an additional $8.94 in the residential property. The commercial property is going to pay $18.48 more, and the egg is going to pay $2.45 more.
Bob, I know we have the handouts here, because this is getting televised.
Yep.
It would be nice if we had it, if we could put it up, because we're talking about charts here. It's going to make the meeting seem kind of, hard to follow, I guess.
And for those watching at home, we can certainly put it up here and we'll broadcast it there, but it is included out on the website under the agenda
So they could go
center.
through the material.
Correct. It is downloadable in a PDF.
Okay, all right, well, I guess that's okay too.
So, continuing on, what we did is we gave the middle row is the reality that the commissioner's home value went up, so they're paying, the writer's at the third one, $4.94 more. Again, if your value stayed the same and your classification stayed the same, chances are you weren't going to pay much difference in taxes. Is that right, Tammy?
Well,
The,
Are we showing that it went up, or, oh, that's the exclusion?
Blue is all commercial.
Yeah.
The one on the left is all residential, the one on the right is all ag.
Ag. Yep.
5,000, those just are kind of
the three categories, 175, 250,
50 and
325.
correct.
So I thought we had an example where we had the commissioner's home value changing from 17 to 18 to show that there is a bit of a change.
You did for the budget stuff.
Yeah.
That was it.
I do have my tax statement from my house here, along with if my value didn't increase, what it would have meant. Just so you got that, and the commercial one here, Bob, that didn't change at all, and that'll show you what that is. So that is an actual one there. These are based on the values here, but that'll be an actual one for that particular classification.
Commissioner Potter, you want me to put it up here?
It's public information.
Okay.
Now, I'm not afraid if Dave knows that.
Yeah.
Everybody on here, you can see that Commissioner Potter's value went from $161,000 to $176,200. After the exclusions, we get down to a taxable market value of $138,200 last year to $157,000. His classification stayed the same. So again, applying the implied tax rate, his county taxes went from $547.57 to $627, primarily driven by the increase in his taxable market value.
And the total value, the total number went up by 12.2%, but my value change was 11%.
Right here is his 12.2. For Commissioner Potter's commercial property, his value stayed the same. His classification stayed the same. And his county taxes went up about
$13.
$13, which is 2 times that $6, I said on average, for 100,000. So Commissioners, that's how you read your property tax statements. I kind of went over components of our budget. We also included in the handout the 14 reasons why property taxes changed. We went over the county levy, we went over the capacity, the changes in class rates set by the state, impacted our capacity, changes in assessed values and classifications that came from the assessor's office were discussed. The rest of it, your overall tax statements could be impacted by schools, cities, other special districts. But tonight we're talking about the county budget.
Bob, I have a question, it's maybe more for Tony, our assessor, but we're in the reason, like, you didn't do any major improvements or anything in your house, right?
Nope.
Just the market is gone up. But if the market's gone up for Mike, it's more than likely gone up for all of us. So why would that, it should work out as a wash as far as, you know, if everybody's property went up 7% last year, it shouldn't affect our taxes if everybody's did the same, or is it just certain areas of the county increased more than the others?
Right.
Or?
One of the 14 reasons, Board, is the fact that our budget went up. Our levy request went up. Our budget went up by $13 million. Our property taxes is still about 50%, so we had about a $6 million increase in our property taxes. So that's one of the reasons why we'll pay more. But we had so much commercial and new growth that our tax rate changed by less than 0.5%. So individually, if we all go up the same, our tax rate and our levy stayed the same, right, we'd pay the same amount of tax. But one of the variables is our levy, and the other variables that we change different from one property to the next.
Okay.
All right, Tony, you want to add anything to that?
Pretty much summed it up. The other thing, your market value exclusion, the higher the value goes up, the less
Exclusion you
market
get.
value
Yeah.
exclusion comes to.
Well, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, but it has nothing to do with the county. I mean, my taxes on my commercial properties went down, but that was because of I didn't end up having to pay as much to the state this year because they had some
Overall.
exclusion, but it has nothing to do with the county.
Yeah, that's the first $100,000 of your commercial value was excluded from tax, and that's where the commercial owners saw the little relief there.
You want to talk about that? That tax you're talking about, state general levy?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the tax that is excluded for that first.
First $100,000.
And that's for commercial property only.
Correct. Sorry, so Lee, you want to go over the comments?
Sure. Mr. Chair, that kind of concludes staff's comments. With that, I think we can move to the public comment portion of tonight's meeting. Just a few guidelines for comments. Participants are requested to limit the comments to 3 minutes. Go to the podium and state your name and address for the record, if you would, please. Every person wishing to comment on the 2018 budget and certified levy will be heard initially before repeat opportunities extended. And if we go more than an hour, we'll have a 15-minute break at the top of the hour. So with that, we will open it up for public comment.
Okay, does anyone from the public wish to make a comment or ask a question or anything? You come up to the podium at this time.
Thank you, Commissioners. Thanks, Bob. Dave Zumbush, Buffalo, Minnesota. The questions I have are, they probably seem simplistic, but, well, thanks for the explanation on the, property tax increase, understand all of it. What I don't understand or need an explanation on, my property went up by 4.7% in value, but my county tax went up by 6.7%. Oh, question is, when you said our budget went up by 13 million, what percent of that, of what increase from last year? What percent did our budget increase from last year?
The increase was like 10
Almost 6%, I think.
No, well, that's the levy. It was 10 point something percent.
Our county
10.88.
budget increased by 10%?
10.88% in the
Yep.
increase in the budget.
But
Okay, then
3.5 of that would be the sales tax.
10% increase, correct?
Correct.
So what would be the biggest reason for the 10% increase? We went, we're up at what, 130 million right now?
126, isn't it? 126.
What's our total, we did a $13 million increase.
Right.
Our total budget is what?
We're
Total budget is
126,252,299.
126 million. The year before then, it would have been 113 million,
13,
correct?
yep.
Correct.
So what, that percentage is 10%, which is a big percentage.
Right.
I mean, most people's wages only went up 4% or somewhat less, ladies and gentlemen.
2 maybe.
What's the biggest reason for the 10% increase?
Commissioners, I'll take a stab at it.
Go ahead.
The biggest ticket was the local option sales tax. The $3.9 million that were in our expenditure budget, our operating budget, includes $3.9 million of the local option sales tax. But we have the revenue to offset it.
So local option sales,
So that brings you all the way.
Right.
That 0.5% one.
So the $13 million increase,
Yep.
subtract $3.9 million, that's a local option sales tax.
Add under 9
So
million.
it would be up about 10 million instead of 13.
8 million, 8.9.
8.9 million.
8.9 million.
Still substantial, so this question's still
But
valid.
Dave wants to know what are the significant impacts on our operating budget. One is the local option sales tax, that was 3.9 million. And then we had the $1.6 million in the new debt service for the new building. So you can.
1.6 million.
1.6 million. And then we have, was it about $400,000 tied to the increase of boarding of prisoners? But we have a significant increase in revenue to help offset that.
We have new personnel.
And then we've expanded. I mean, Health and Human Services, it's 10 new employees out
No.
there?
Oh, and every time you read the paper, it's another one gets
More than
hired.
10, Chris?
No, there was 4. Personnel request.
Well, one of the things that we have been trying to do is get our technology department up. In the past, technology has been kind of pushed down and hadn't been kept up to speed. So we're playing catch up with that, and that's been kind of difficult. We have 3 new technology per people approved for next year. Technology doesn't come cheap. We have some technology improvements that we're trying to do. And I know Commissioner Burrell always says, well, we're spending all this money on technology, where are we seeing the savings? And it has happened in some of the departments. It takes a little bit of time because we are so far behind. And then we have to deal with the state and their technology nightmares, which I'm sure you've heard about MinLars, which is taking our DMS people, DMV people a lot longer to do things. And then Health and Human Services, which in its own right is its own nightmare.
Right.
With everything we got to deal with that. But there's some mandates from the state that we don't have a choice.
Right.
And one of them was the children's
Chips?
Children need
Health protection.
Yeah,
protective services.
yeah, protective services. And now the state gave us some money for that, but they've taken money away from other parts of Health and Human Services, quite a bit. So their budget didn't change, they just changed in how they pay the counties.
Yeah.
So it cost us. So actually, some of our costs went up dramatically in Health and Human Services. The state has some stupid laws regarding if somebody is down at the Anoka State Hospital and doesn't belong there anymore, but there's no place to put them, the county has to pay that $1,500 a day?
It's very expensive.
$1,500 a day until we can find a place to put that person. Unfortunately, when the state closed down all these state hospitals and that sort of stuff, they never made up for a place to put these people. So we're stuck having to foot the bill on those sort of things.
For a month, we're $45,000, $50,000
And then foster care.
That you have no control over.
We don't have control.
Yeah.
In foster care with the CHIPS program, our costs went up dramatically on that this year too.
You brought up, Mark, the Health and Human Services. What percent of their budget is that? Of that 126 million? I know it is what it is, folks, but.
It went up
It gets talked about a
It went
lot.
up by 6%.
It went up that much, but you know what dollar amount, what percentage of our total budget?
Total budget, Health and Human Services.
It's got to be 10%.
Probably 40.
20%.
Just looked at this too.
20%?
It's our proposed budget for Health and Human Services, $24,388 and.
24 million.
24 million. I wish it was
There-
24,000.
20.
About 20%.
20%.
Yeah.
The graph on page 7 says 20%.
Yep. If you have the graph,
Another thing
Dave,
that's
it will be on.
drove costs up
Seven,
is
page
software
seven.
upgrades.
Thanks,
We've
Chris.
got well over $1 million in squad car cams to be able to eventually attrition to body cams, which was close to $300,000, just under that number, and other softwares between land and record software upgrades across the county, trying to get us up to speed and where we should be in terms of technology. That played a big expense.
To chime in on this for you, Dave, with the guys, I'm technologically impaired per se, but these gentlemen aren't. We brought Infotech in from Toronto to help identify what our shortfalls and what our problems are here. Somebody outside looking at this thing, and they came up with a lot of recommendations, and we're following through with those to bring us up at the modern era for this. We had software before that was having how many patches to get from here to the hub and out. We have to quit spinning our wheels and got to start. We don't need to be on the leading edge, but we got to get off that bleeding edge of technology. We got to get somewhere closer.
No, I understand all, I've taken way more than my 3 minutes, so forgive me, board, but.
No, that's fine. There's not a whole lot of people here, so take as much as you need.
I know there's things where, your hands just get tied and you got to do it. But when you look at another number, I just request, many of us do, that going into the years going forward, if there's some numbers that you can control, to bring that number down, even though it's not, my goal is always be no more inflation. So I got to pay money on technology too, but it's part of my budget, I got to look at it. And then somehow I got to increase my revenue to cover that extra expense and hopefully put some money in my own pocket after I pay all my staff. And so I got some things I can't do. Some things I have to do that cost me money. That it's just part of doing business. But then something I don't do that year because I ran out of money. I just can't do it anymore. And I would just request that you watch the things you can watch. Because some things, Mark, like you said, you can't control it. You know,
No.
Derek, you're right. I mean, you're just
This year,
tuck in you
Yeah.
and eat it. And like Health and Human Services, it gets so doggone big because you got so many people you got to help.
yeah. Well, and,
Probably a number you can't control a whole lot. I mean, is this a service we got to do? That's a whole other issue.
you know, the problem is the state then changes what they give us,
Right.
which puts it back.
Yeah.
And we are going to be meeting with our state representatives and how what they do affects
Right.
citizens of Wright County.
And,
So
I
those
mean,
guys are elected.
And the levy, I mean, the budget went up, but because of the increased population, I mean, that's part of the reason too. So our levy went up 7.73%, but we could have raised it 7.07 without affecting anyone's taxes at all. So like Bob said, you know, it's about a 0.5% that we actually are increasing our levy. So that's, you know, the number, almost 11%, is huge, obviously, but so much of that is because we have increased population also, so.
Increased business growth.
And Dave, I just want to get you with the transportation thing, because that's mostly what I deal with. Wright County before, the commissioners before us are trying to keep the levy down, holding hard zeros and that, robbing Peter to pay Paul. They put less money in the roads every year, and they borrowed ahead $2.5 million under county state aid account. We get $6 million a year from gas tax. We finally paid that $2.5 million back. We're starting to put more money into our roads because we have the 551 miles, which require $12 million a year to maintain them, and we're $12 million a year to maintain them. We are putting, you know, less than $5 million a year away for that. We're going down, 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 and our roads are getting worse shape. As you know, we got to fix the roads. That's public safety. That's core function of government. We're addressing that. The next issue, big issue for us this year is technology. We need to get the handle on this thing, because if we get too far behind, it just costs us more. We hired more bodies to do things. The highway department did get rid of one body because the technology upgrade, the payroll and aspect, they eliminated one person. I mean, that's, so if you get one savings there, you got one savings. I mean, the other ones will take time, but keep in mind that we're still playing catch up from when.
But on the highway part, not to interrupt you, forgive me, Mike, but so we had that extra 0.5% road usage tax, or not that. The tax everybody pays to buy something in Wright County.
Yep.
Whatever. That's going to bring in 3.5 million. So that 3.5 million is going to go towards that 12 million?
No, it's special, well, it's
projects within
identified
that.
projects.
It's project within that 12 million, yeah.
Got it.
Yep.
Got right? 3 million is going to help out in that 12 million.
It's going to help in that, yeah.
Right.
It's going to help because
Yeah, it's gonna
some of
help.
the same projects were ones identified before, but that's help. And if we didn't do the local option sales tax, Dave, just, I sit on that chair of transportation policy for AMC, all 87 counties and NACO and not NACO, the transportation lines that. If I didn't do that sales tax option, if the legislature had done their job and given us what they promised at the beginning, we wouldn't have to do it. But when it come down, they told us $1 billion they're going to give us for the state highways. It ended up being like $284,000 Wright County got. That's basically paying for about a part of an intersection, and that's it. That's not fixing our problem. We're $78 million behind in expansion projects just down in the county here that need to get upgraded because of traffic counts. We need to deal with that.
Last question I have would be, what are we going to do when that courthouse bill hits us? Because this number is 13 million. What's that courthouse bill going to be? Yeah, 1.6 came off the, whatever the number is. Anybody know what the number is yet? What the
$50 million for the courts, it'd be about a $4 million annual debt service payment.
50 million plus we got to buy the furniture for the place? Or is
No,
the furniture?
that's with the furniture.
The furniture's in there? So we went up 13 million this year. We got a $50 million hit coming up pretty quick.
We got a $4 million.
It'd be bonded at a $4 million debt service annually. So you increase by $4 million for the debt service.
Well, next year, we're gonna have one bond fall off, although it's a lot smaller than $50 million, one bond falls off, the remodeling of this thing here. 2023, the jail back here finally drops off.
There's a few.
4 million, we're going to take the, whatever the
There's some
number.
things that'll offset it, so you probably adjust it by 2 point, it's still hard, it's a moving target.
We're going to do like a 15-year bond on that, Derek, or?
20.
20 on that? Okay.
Oh, we are well aware of
Yes.
next year, and we,
That's the
which is
reason-
kind of why we went a little bit higher this year with hiring. Next year, and we hired a lot of people, but we didn't hire everybody that was requested.
No.
Next year, it's going to be a lot leaner for what happens around.
I hope so, Mark. It's going to start to sting. It's already stinging.
And we funded lot of IT projects this year and stuff to things of that nature to try and make it that next year, knowing that we're going to have to be really lean to be able to fulfill that
So you
bond.
get this idea, is it what, $4 million behind in IT? Is that what, somewhere in that neighborhood? It's a large number.
It's a moving target, let me tell you, because I tell you, as we go through the vetting process of trying to figure out what's going to solve and be a cohesive unit for our IT department, it's hard to put a number on it at this point.
Yeah.
But I understand. I mean, I'm a business owner too. I have 2 businesses. The self-service car wash, you know, the 0.5% sales tax hit me directly because I can't raise it 0.5% to pay for it. So I lose 0.5%. So trust me, I understand on how it affects us.
Yeah. All right.
And I do, well, stay there for a second, let's make a comment, but I brought it up to the board. I took a picture actually of the FedEx truck that drove in my yard dropping a package off, and it's got rust around the back wheels and stuff, but you know what? They're in business to make money, and I'm like, why don't we see any county vehicles that are in rough shape? They're all brand new.
No, not
And
quite.
so, no, I mean, it's,
But they do run in 10 years.
but then,
Marty,
Look at the assessors.
you can't believe how often that comment comes out when I'm out with other guys, and we're looking at a job site, we're like, holy cow, look at that equipment.
yeah.
And you're right, you see the other old beat up, you know, 98 Ford flying by, and that guy's busting his tail, and he doesn't have quite the overhead,
Yeah.
you know? Oh, thank you, ladies and gentlemen,
With you.
appreciate it.
Thanks for your comments. Lane, come on up.
We know you're going on, Lane.
We see you back there.
You got something to say.
Waiting for everybody else to talk first. Is there anybody else that wants to talk first?
Lane wants to wrap.
I'm just going to expound what he was talking about.
Come on.
You know
You
that.
gotta come on up here.
All right.
Lane, it wouldn't be complete if you didn't come up here and voice your
I
opinion.
really wavered coming here today, and especially since I didn't see Tom and his wife here. You know, that was the part I was surprised about.
Yeah, they haven't been coming lately.
Oh, they were here last year. Were they here last year?
Year before.
Year before. Okay.
They were for the sales tax, they were here, but.
Yeah, they were here for that. So, I won't go into too much things because you've heard my voice before, so I'm gonna say the same things over again, really. I always look at these things from.
Lane, we all know you, but maybe just for the.
I'm sorry, Lane Roshan, St. Michael, agitator, whatever. Anyway.
Invigorated agitator.
Invigorated, but always out there with the right purpose in mind. So anyway, I always look at these things on a holistic level. And again, coming from St. Michael, we're experiencing, I would consider it to be a wrongful action on the part of our school district, but we have significant increases in school taxes because of a referendum that just passed. And if I look back in history with my Wright County property taxes, and everybody else's apparently, because of the way that taxes are derived, you're looking at a situation where it's always been well above what the rate of inflation is. And you all just need to look at what's been going on. Again, I know Mark, he's got his own business, you've got your own business, I don't know who else has got their own business, but I'm sure any family farmer has been experiencing it as well. You look at what the cost of health care has done. I wouldn't even call it health care, I'd call it paying somebody else's insurance, if you will, through Obamacare. It's killing people. And so to expound a little bit what the other prior gentleman was talking about, to me this is about prioritization. And I realize some of the things are really important here you have to do. And you know that I've talked probably for 6 years straight, well not quite because I've missed a couple of them, about the issue of mandates, because I hear that all the time. I hear it at the county, I hear it at the city, I hear it at the school district. So theoretically, within 2 years' time, there'll be a change in government in this state. And I'm hoping that happens, and I certainly will be advocating for that, as you guys know. And my question to you guys is in terms of prioritization of those mandates that you think are realistically can be stricken from there after talking to legislators and get people like me and other people across the state, because that's where my focus is in working with people across the state in various BPOUs to try to get them energized to fight back at some of these mandates that are costing the taxpayers so much money.
One of the things what we're going to do when we meet with our legislators, assuming they all accept,
I hope they do.
which if they don't, that's going to be in the press as far as I'm concerned. But we're going to choose 5 to 8 things that affect this county the most, and that's what we're going to hit them with. AMC and all these other companies and all these other groups, you know, have huge lists, and that's too much. So we're going to focus on the 5 to 8 items that really hurt this county and explain that to them with as much information as we can.
And
So we'll pass it on to you.
And I'd be happy to take that from our standpoint, from a political standpoint, and see where that goes to as people I know across the state.
Yeah.
To try to drive that. And hopefully you'll share that whenever the time comes, because it'll take some time to get that ball rolling, if you will, with other people across the state. And appreciate that, because that's exactly what we need to do. I mean, to try to keep our costs manageable here. I don't like seeing my property taxes go up every single year 5% from the county, because to me, I don't see the value in it. You know, I realize a lot of things you have to do. I question a number of the things you have to do, but I'm not going to get into the weeds here, because you've heard that story before. The one thing I will mention about the sales tax, which you knew I was in opposition for, because I don't believe we need to turn 2-lane roads into 4-lane roads, especially since our state highways and our US 12 are in much worse condition than the roads, the county roads that y'all take care of. Can't speak to bridges. I'm not going to, because I'm not a bridge expert. But I mean, in all my driving across the state, and I do a lot of it in different parts of the state, and I realize part of it is the spending that's going on here now. I also realize that, according to a legislator who I met with not too long ago from this county, who said that, what are they talking about? Why did they increase it by 0.5%? Don't they know that they got a $2 million earmark for the last biennium, specifically targeted for Wright County? Which,
No, we didn't.
this came from a legislator.
Yeah, that's the legislative assistant told him at the beginning of session, but by the time it came out of conference committee, we got $248,000.
Well, I will verify that, Mike. You know that. And so it is a Wright County legislator.
I did verify that with Joe already.
Did you? Okay.
You can go through it again, because I went through, because he read it at the legislative assistant at the beginning of session. This is what we promise you. I said, the beginning and the end are 2 different numbers. And that's why I says, Joe, why do we even bother with a session? Why don't you just go to conference committee and let them 8 people figure out what you're getting, because that's what comes out of it anyway.
Right. Okay, I'll verify that.
Absolutely verify it. And you can verify it also with Virgil Hawkins, because he'll give you the 4-year thing that they gave us.
Right.
The first 2 years are guaranteed, the other 2 years are a wish and a prayer.
I understand. It's all, you don't do them if you don't need to do them. I get that. But at the same point, as I raised here, what was it, in June, July, August, whenever that meeting was, it's like, I really question having County Road 19 go into 4 lanes and the expenditures that are involved in the future budget here as a result of that. And I realize it's down the road, I get all that, but when our state roads, I know Minnesota 55 was just announced that it's going to be changed from Rockford up to Buffalo, is my understanding.
Instead of a mill and overlay, it's going to be a reclaim pave. It upgraded a little bit so it lasts a little bit longer. Instead of putting another Band-Aid on top of it, like the microsurfacing they did 2 years ago, they're actually going to do a reclaim and overlay, which will give us more time.
Right.
They got to quit putting Band-Aids on everything, because then they all come due at the same time.
Right.
It's not going to 4-lane, which I was hoping for, but they said it's premature on that.
Yeah, I'm fine with it 2-lane.
Well, you know, and I'm fine with 2 lanes in County Road 37, 19, and 36, or whatever else was on that plan too. Because to me, if we're not doing 4 lanes on Minnesota 55, we're not doing 4 lanes on Minnesota 25 for the bulk of what's going on through Buffalo, well, south of Buffalo, all the way up to Monticello, why would we be doing 4 lanes on the areas in St. Michael, Otsego, and Albert?
Highway 25 is already doing the march down this way.
Right.
Yep.
It got up to 106, down to 106.
Right.
And then it's segmented that there's going to be 4 lanes all the way to Buffalo eventually. It's in the process in the program already.
Right. So I'm just thinking about it from my perspective. I don't want to rehash the whole thing about the discussion of highways, but
Lane, you know, just a quick answer to that. If I remember correctly, there's only one highway, and it's a short section of 19 that's going to go to 4 lanes.
Yeah, I didn't recall that.
That's the only highway that was going to go 4 lanes.
There's a
Now-
short section in 39 in Otsego, I think that was going to be extended 4 lanes, I think.
Oh, yeah, a little bit over
from
there, but
Elk River over towards Monticello?
Correct.
No,
Otsego-
not that whole, no,
far,
no, just
but-
within this city limits of Otsego.
We had to go and we had to put in some turn lanes and it's to reduce some of the accidents that were occurring over off of 39 in Otsego.
3919, right there at the T.
Right.
That's got a three-way stop now.
Right.
The traffic counts are dictating that you're going to have to address a four-lane road there because the traffic counts are getting above a certain standards.
By Riverwood Inn or whatever you're talking
By
about?
River,
By
Inn,
River
yeah.
Inn,
Yeah.
yeah.
But the way I saw that the highway plan was I saw colorations in a lot of different areas of,
Yeah, some of them are, well, 36, for example, 37. Doesn't have any shoulders on them.
Right.
37 doesn't have any shoulders. So those are sort of things where, when my kids were going to school, we wouldn't never let them bike on 37 because there's no shoulders. And the ditches are just right there. It was too dangerous.
right?
You know, so there's some of those roads that were getting improved, some
Okay.
of that money.
All right, so from a transparency standpoint, is this updated, because this is different kind of than what I heard in the half-cent sales tax meeting
This portion is from
about
10 to
what's going on with roads. Is that all available on the
0.5% sales
website?
tax
Assuming we have
option has-
another technology person?
Lane, if I might answer, 0.5% sales tax, you have to identify the projects, and that's what you get for. And it has to be used for transportation purposes. And if you go through that whole list, you no longer can collect that 0.5% sales tax.
Yeah,
You have
it's
to have
on
another
the,
hearing to add or that.
and it's on the highways
It's all
website.
dedicated highway.
It is on the highway website, okay.
Yes, it is.
And like, some of those projects, like the one on 39, majority of that extension to 4-lane is in the 15 to 20 year, or the 10 to 15 year extension, so they're projecting really far out.
Right, but you're also collecting half-cent sales tax for the foreseeable future, so.
Well, no, we
5
actually put
years.
5 years, we put an end date on
Put
it.
a cap.
We put a cap on it.
Somebody else will have to put their feet to the fire on
Is
this.
that a hard cap, or is that
It's a cap to
Who's
be,
ever sitting on these chairs in 5 years from now will have to make the decision whether they're going to continue with it or it just goes away.
okay.
And we'll be able, in 5 years, I'll be able to tell people whether or not it hurt the county or helped the county.
Yeah.
Where did that money come from?
Right, okay. So, you know, let's not assume that the only part of the property tax that people are incurring is just the only tax that's increasing for Wright County, rather, is a property tax, because that sales tax does affect people in significant ways. Mark, I would imagine it affects you the most of anybody in this room, your business, no question about it. But how many people are in Wright County? 100,000? Is that about right?
131.
Okay, so then theoretically, those people are probably, what, if I divide 4 million divided by 130, that gets about $40, not quite, $30-some, $37.
a lot of it's.
Percentage of it will come from outside.
Right, there's some,
right.
30 to 50%.
But you got to look at it, let's assume that nothing comes from outside. You look at it, that means that at a half-cent sales tax, that's an extra $20 that are coming out of everybody's pocket on an annual basis. So you can't just say your property taxes, that's the only part that's increasing for you. This is also there too. I just don't think people connect the dots when it comes to how much more is coming out of their pocket to pay for roads that theoretically might come out of wherever else, especially roads that may not need to be redone down the road.
There's a lot of consumers a lot of property owners that are not very big consumers, say older people that live in their home. They're not out buying a lot. The things they're buying are not taxable items, you know, their food, their clothing, that kind of thing, but they're not probably, you know, going out and spending a lot of money. Maybe they don't have the means to. So it seemed more fair to have a local option sales tax, a 0.5% sales tax, that people coming into the county, and there's a lot of people that come into this county and shop, you know, they have cabins, they probably, if they have cabins, then they probably paying property taxes also. But it's spreading it out, so we're not, you know, continuing to raise some people's property taxes. I mean, the property owners obviously are paying for most of the services in the county, or half of it. So it just seemed more fair to have that option for now. But we'll see what happens.
But that sales tax, and I haven't dug into mine, but I've heard from other people, it's got to be affecting your phone bill. It's got to be there. It's got to be probably in your gas that you use, your natural gas. No?
Not gas.
Electricity?
And it's not also, if you buy a car.
It's in there.
I was thinking you meant gasoline.
No, not gasoline, but natural gas, electricity, and
Yes,
utilities.
it's in your utility.
But it's not.
So
if
those
you-
people are being
it's not
affected
if you
there.
buy a car, it's not if you buy boats and
Cars and
trailers, that
boats
kind of
and that
thing.
sort of thing.
Those kinds of things are exempt.
Okay, well, is it sales tax better than an increase in property taxes? Of course, yes. Is no increase in sales tax better than no increase? Yes. So,
That's why we debated it for 4 years.
I'm sure you did. I appreciate
It
that.
was a lively debate for 4
Actually,
years also.
4.5 years.
Yeah.
So I'll go back to the original premise, is that, again, from a holistic standpoint, I would ask that the county really look at whatever it can do to squeeze back its spending, to keep it in line with what is happening out there in the real world, because it is happening in the real world.
We have, I know Rock County down in the southwestern corner of the state, I talked with a guy from the AMC and he said that they do nothing unless it's mandated by the state. And they're very cheap taxes. Now, per capita, maybe, because they're a very small population too, and they have to have certain services, but we're not even close to that.
No,
I mean,
we're
we
one of
just
the-
put,
yeah.
we just put almost $1 million into Trailblazer Transit, and that wasn't a necessity, whatever.
That's not true, Charlie. We didn't, the money's, we're not putting $1 million into
No.
Trailblazer Transit. We're putting less than $100,000 into it, and the other money, we are using it as a long-term loan. It's not, we would get every penny of it back. They're just using it for operating cash.
Well, long-term loan, but when are you gonna get it back?
Whenever we would decide not to be part of their JPA.
I know.
They have to have
so it's
operating
really-
money.
But Derek, it's gone. We're never gonna see that back, not in our lifetime.
But it's not spent. It's not technically
But
spent.
anyway.
87 counties, we're the 10th largest, we're 84th out of 87 per capita spending. So we are not spending up to the 10th largest level by any stretch. I don't want to be Ramsey County's #1, don't want to be #1.
Please don't use Hennepin or Ramsey County as a comparison.
Well, no, but Hennepin County is a complete anomaly. But Ramsey County's off the charts, and we are not up in that stratosphere. We are closer down here. The cheapest one in the whole state is Dakota County because the growth came so quick, the money came in so quick, they were at the bottom. So we've been trying to be mindful of how to keep ourselves down there and still provide the services that A, are mandated, and B, required by those citizens of the county. We up here disagree on all the services needed or wanted, but each one of us represent a district, and like Charlie's district has different wants than my district does, different, we want to be like how it was, and they say, we want this. You got to come to some meeting of the minds on how you can provide this in the most economical way without breaking the bank. And that's why switch to real tax statements instead of John Anderson, Elm Street, Anytown, USA. Here's what it really affects here, and I've got mine here and anybody's welcome to see it. We are trying to be mindful of that and use every tool we can to keep us down there, because if we were just not paying attention, we'd be creeping up to 10th largest per capita spend. I don't want to be there. I mean, another thing I want to keep you in mind that this county's been pretty frugal. Buffalo has $109 million in bond debt. The school district in Buffalo is about $130-ish million in bond debt. STMA, as we know, and I know, and he knows, $200 million in bond debt. Okay?
That's my concern.
Second highest in the state, only Lakeville's higher, and they split north and south. But they got 100 times the tax capacity to draw off of. Okay, the county, we have currently $70 million in bond debt. The courthouse will bring us up to $120 million. That's right at the max of our comfort level, most of us comfort level anyway, for that, even though a $450 million is the max we could go in debt before you start incurring the wrath of the state auditor. And we don't want to even be near that stratosphere. And we're trying to systematically do these improvements and try to make it so they sequence, so one comes off before we do another one, try to get there, because when you kick the can down the road, eventually it all blows up in your face. And that's what we're facing now, is with the jail, with the courts out there. 2004 they were going to do it, they kicked the can down the road, all of a sudden it exploded in cost. They're still paying on this dead horse back here till 2023. That's bad planning. And with the jail, since we built 4 pods and we've taken in more prisoners from outside, now we're making 2018 open up the 4th pod, because as long as we can make money and offset the cost of that bond by almost $400,000 per pod in that neighborhood, by God, go for it. It's there. We're still paying the for heating, air conditioning, everything else, and I'll fill it up with people. Take the money in.
Well, you might as well, as long as the buildings are there.
It's there, we're paying for it, and that was the premise when they built it. Oh, we're gonna board all these prisoners, but they left the 2 pods empty for the longest time, so knock it off, fill them up.
Right, might as well.
So Lane, let me ask you this.
Yes.
Have you ever in your life, and maybe they'll be personal, you don't have to ask the answer. Have you ever used our county public health services?
No. I will tell you a story, though.
Do you know anybody,
tell you a story, though.
anybody that ever did?
I probably do.
Okay, I'd have to search, I might know, but my thing is, we have 30-some people working in public health.
Right.
And I'm saying, well, that could be downsized, but it takes pressure to get put on this board to do it. But it's services that we just put out there, and they're going to the schools, and they're showing the kids how to grow vegetables in these raised gardens at, 30-some bucks an hour. It's, the extension office could do this stuff, but yet we have public health nurses doing it.
That's why kids have parents.
And I said, it's just, we do a lot of things. This board does a lot of really good things. I got it, and I compliment them on that, but we do a lot of things that we shouldn't be doing, and that we don't need to do, and they're niceties.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that point.
Parks is another one. Now, I come on the other side where parks is something that everybody, at least if they don't use, they certainly can use them. So, I don't know if you say I'm a hypocrite that way, but because we spend a lot of money on parks too. And that's not necessary.
Try
but it's a
focusing on the core
nicety.
function of government.
But at some point, we have to come to grips with the taxpayers out there, and that's what I try to do every day. My thing, and I was preparing my speech here someday, but I believe in freedom. That's what I operate from, and Derek agreed with me on an issue today, and I said, if you vote for freedom, you'll always be on my side. And the thing is, when we tax people, we take away their freedom. When we do things for people, when government starts doing things that you could do yourself, you, believe it or not, you're losing your freedom. Who has more freedom? Somebody living off the county or somebody that's living on their own? The person that's living on their own, that's making a living, has more freedom. That person, even though they're getting niceties and all these freebies from the county, they don't have their freedom. They would be better off not getting those things and working on their own. So I come from a deal where it's personal responsibility. We had a discussion, I don't know if I can talk about the closed session today.
No. We got to stick to the task.
But anyway, it's a deal where we were asked to participate in a lawsuit. That's public, it was out there, on to sue the companies for opium. Well, what are we going to do then? Then we're going to sue the gun owners, the alcohol, we already did the tobacco, I guess that worked pretty good. And then we're going to might as well go after auto manufacturers too, because they make these dangerous vehicles that go out and kill. But it's never comes to the person and says, gosh, how about holding the person responsible that held up the needle and shooting up? Mm-hmm. We don't do that. We always blame somebody else. It's always somebody else's.
And it's somebody else's responsibility to take care of the situation.
We've got people on overtime right now.
I'm sorry, can I mention two things? Very quickly.
Go ahead. Yeah.
One is that when the price of government is higher than what people are continuing to make, they have to make hard choices. Mm-hmm. They have to decide, what am I going to cut out of my budget to do that? Now, I could ask each and every one of you what your suggestion would be for that particular thing to see if you can guess whether personally myself, I've already done that in my personal life and see how many you got it right in doing so. But that's my first comment. The second one that's probably even more concerning to me is, okay, we've had nearly 0% interest rates in this country, courtesy of the Federal Reserve for roughly 7+ years, right? Mm-hmm. And as a result, we've got all kinds of bubbles being blown up. They have. Real estate, stock market. You could look down the road which of the bubbles have been blown up. They're all over the place. At some point, those bubbles are going to burst. Mm-hmm. And what's going to happen by putting all this debt onto the backs of the property tax people, the residents of Wright County? I've argued this point with STMA in particular about this particular issue, about what they're going to potentially be doing to the residents of our area. And I would ask the same thing of the county about these things that are being put into place.
They shut me down when I start talking to them about that too. They don't want to listen to it.
And Mr. Chair, majority of my entire life I've made my living on what I call discretionary income, luxury industry. food business. First place that people don't spend their money is going out to eat. And so I understand that implication of high taxes and how that trickle-down effect is. I struggled hard this year with coming into this budget and what we needed as a county and getting to that point. I realize that we're kind of climbing a steep hill to get to the point where we can finally be able to get to the point where you want us to be, because there's just so many things that hadn't been addressed coming into being the new one onto this board and seeing the struggles and where we haven't done things in the county that really we need to do to be able to have future savings. And that's, bear with us is kind of what I'm saying. We're working hard for you.
Understand, other than the school district in my town, they don't say anything like that, but other forms of government do say those things. And so I've been patiently waiting for, I gotta look at my wallet here. How old am I? I'm getting younger every day, according to you guys. But anyway.
In dog years, I'd be dead.
I've been waiting for a long time.
Provided they don't give me any new mandates from St. Paul or DC.
Again, I will help, as I said, I will help the county commissioners on that issue once you identify what it is that is there, okay?
Thank you, Lane.
Thank you for your time.
Lane, Dave, what I want you to understand here also, you know, Bob Hebel and his staff are top shelf. They win awards. They won one again for auditing in this. I mean, they are being very mindful with our money. They're doing well in investments. They're tracking everything we do and letting us know when something doesn't make sense. I mean, we're fortunate we have the staff we have here that is really being good stewards of our money. Because, you know, that's an elected position. You could get Joe Anderson from anywhere, right last name, get in there and not know what the heck they're doing and screw up everything. We got people that are competent and caring here, you know, and we got good people in our departments that are mindful of the money.
And I appreciate that. And I know sometimes, Bob, you and I have had discussions. I appreciate the work that it's done at Wright County. I invite you to come over to the Wright County BPOU. In fact, I sent a note over to Rebecca Lotto to come over at the same time that you would.
Lane, at the state fair, Rebecca ran away from me.
You're not holding your breath, are you?
That's because you were wearing your road construction tie.
We could take a break, but I think we only have one person. Did you want to talk at all, a question or anything? Okay, then I think, unless, is there anyone else in the public that did have a question, comment, want to address the board?
Tony, no, you can't.
Other than Tony?
Yeah, they're doing.
Okay, all right, I thank you all for coming, and Lee, did you have anything else?
No, just thank you all for coming and those at home for tuning in.
Yeah,
Okay, and we are adjourned at 7:04.
thank you.
Thank you.